All right, so we're gonna wait a couple more minutes for the people to show up in chat. I told them to start at 9:30. Give them just a couple more minutes to get in. Hey, we have someone joining us. Yay! Hello, Jocelyn. All right. Okay, remember that you want to download this and turn it into a Word document. Remember how that goes. You do the, when you get into the Google Classroom document, you have to hit the triple dots, and then open in a new document, and then download it, and it's going to appear in the bottom left, and you click on that. And then that should open up the document for you. Okay, Erica, can you go ahead and mute, please? Because your mic is on and you're very noisy. Thank you. All right, so people in the chat, thank you for coming. Let's be sure to go ahead and go to the chat and go ahead and put your name in for the purpose of making sure that we know that you were here. There we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go into presentation mode now. Welcome everybody in the online environment, and nope, not that one. Let's get the other one. Screen 2. Okay. So we are on chapter 5 now. If you are in the online environment, be sure to log in. And you might want to do this before you come to class every time. While you're waiting for everything to get started, you can just go ahead and get your e-textbook out so that you can see what we're talking about here in the classroom. Oh, hey, you know what? I might want to use the student textbook. All right, so on page 118 is where we're starting. Basically, page 117 is where the chapter actually begins. If you remember your vocabulary words, they are here on the side, talking about computer clock, deliveries, field addresses, and all kinds of stuff like that. The purpose of this one is we're going to talk about creating letters and envelopes, something real professional people know how to do, and those that are just kind of posers on the Word document, they don't know this stuff. So if you know how to do this stuff, some people in the business world will actually be like, wow, I didn't know how to do that. You know how to do that? That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk about margins, indenting margins. hanging margins and stuff like that. We're going to talk about increase and decrease indent buttons. And we're also going to do a little bit at the end about how to turn this into a letter, and also how to put in a mailing envelope on this document, okay, as something that also can be printed with this. Okay, all right, so as always, we are going to be doing the stuff in the brown box. Those are your step-by-step instructions to understanding the hands-on portion of what we're doing. Okay, so in the Google Classroom, if you can, go and find W05 Try A. If you haven't pulled that up yet and opened it as a Word document, please do so. If you can't manage to get it as a Word document, if you can only do Google Docs, well, we'll see what we can do with that. Remember what I said about Google Docs, though. It is a lightweight, over-the-internet program that does not have all of the features that Microsoft Word does. And so some of the stuff you may be able to do, and some of the stuff you might not be able to do. For example, that envelope stuff. I am not exactly sure that that's something that Google Docs is going to be able to work with. Okay? So whenever you're doing homework, just remember to do what you can to the best of your ability. And if you feel the need to put in a comment saying that you couldn't do something or you need more help with it or something like that, I will take that into account. Okay? So first things first, on the Try It, you did open W05 Try A. If you need more time and you're watching this later, you can go ahead and pause it now so that you can get yourself all set up. And all right, good. Now you've got yourself all set up. Yay. All right, so that's step one. Open up W05 Try A. I've got it on the side here. Okay. I've got it all set up. Now, I have something up here, and everybody in the classroom pay attention to me. I've got something up here that you might not have because you may not have done this to your computer yet. Up here, you can see that there's a little ruler, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a demonstration of what the page has. As far as like if you actually printed this on a document, this is 1 inch into the document, okay, from the margin. Okay, this gray area right here is the margin that you can't get into. Okay, same with this side over here. You can also see them on the left side. There's a gray margin, which indicates the header area. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there's also a little gray area, which indicates the footer. Okay, you see that the footer takes up that much space. All right, so you may not have this, but you need to get this, especially if you're going to be doing the stuff that we're doing today. So I want everybody to go to the View tab. I want everybody to go to the View tab, and if you haven't done this, you need to. Go into the area called Show. If your screen is not very wide, then your show might be something like this, where it's kind of condensed and it's got a little drop-down arrow. You may need to click on it to get these options. But one of the options in the Show area on the View tab is Ruler. And you definitely need to click on that to make sure that you have a ruler available to you. Okay, so in the View tab, click on Ruler. You get the ruler across the top. This is going to be useful for putting in things like tab stops later on, being able to adjust the margins and stuff like that manually with your mouse. You definitely need to have that ruler up to do some of the things that we're going to do. Okay? All right, so that was step 2. Display the rulers and then click anywhere in the second paragraph. That's this paragraph right here. The long paragraph that's on the second line here. All right? So click anywhere in here. You don't have to highlight it necessarily. Actually, you could just click in it and put the blinky cursor in there, and that's perfectly fine. Okay? Step 3, click on the Home tab, and if necessary, go to the Paragraph group. Click on the Home tab. And here's the Paragraph group. You've got these two things right here. You've got this little paragraphy thing with an arrow, and then you got this other paragraphy thing with another arrow going the opposite direction. Okay? These are the increase and decrease indent. What is indent? Who can tell me what indent is? Anybody know? It's what? Kind of. The indent is how far the paragraph is away from the side. Okay? Now, the margin, everything's got a margin. Like right here on the side here, everything's got a margin. But sometimes the words kick in a little bit like this. Like you guys seen these where paragraphs start off with a little bit of extra space, right? You guys have seen that before, where the paragraph starts with a little extra kick in. Okay, that's a little bit, that's called an indent. There's also where the entire paragraph is moved over some, okay? This is the indent. The entire paragraph gets pushed in a little bit, somehow. There's also first line indents and hanging indents. We'll go over that later. Okay, but the book says, click the increase indent button, which is the one with a couple of lines and an arrow pointing towards that direction. Okay, and you do it until you get the left indent to 0.5. Okay, which is just one click basically. Everybody notice, you got a 1 here, you got the gray here, which is basically 0. And if you click the indent one time, it goes over. These two symbols right here click over about a ½ inch, and now your paragraph starts a little bit into the document. Okay? Click that button again, and now it's 1 full inch away from the margin. Okay, now it's definitely separated from these other 2 pieces of information here. Now in the paragraph group, choose the alternate one. Go for the other one to decrease the indent. Move it back to the left. Back and to the left. Okay? Now it's now back to 0.5. Okay? Now, it says to save these changes, but we don't necessarily need to do that. Remember, folks, a try document is always just for practice. I'm never going to ask you to turn in a try document. So you may save it if you like, but you may just decide that it's not really necessary. Okay, now scroll on down. Page 119. Highlight the first 2 paragraphs. Highlight the first 2 paragraphs. Go to the Layout tab. Now I showed you on the Home tab some quick buttons to use, but on the Layout tab, you've got the stuff that's very technically oriented towards this kind of thing. And one of those things is right here. Now notice, we have these 2 at different locations. One of them is on the 0 mark, and the other one is at the 0.5 mark. Okay? So one of them is at 0, and the other one is at 0.5. Okay? Notice how your left indent actually doesn't have anything in it. Okay, that's what happens whenever there's 2 or more different things that it could be. Right now, everybody on the right side is at the 0 mark on the right side. You can't go past the 0 mark on the right side. But the left side has 2 different things based on the things that we have highlighted. One of them's at 0, the other one's at ½. So we can use the up and down buttons to make them go to the same place. Okay? Now, go ahead and click on the up until the left becomes 1.2. Okay, these go up basically by like 0.1 increments. So you're going to get 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. All right? Now everything is at 1.2. Okay? Now, have you guys ever seen in books where they have like those, like you've got the main text of the document, but then it's like you've got that little explanatory paragraph or that little quote by somebody or something like that? You ever wonder how they get it to like look like that, where it's like separated from everything and the sides are squished in? All right. That is not only the left indent, but also the right side indent, okay? Let's use the right indent. Underneath the left indent, there's a right indent. Increase that one to 0.8. 0.8 on the right indent. And now you've got a little quote box looking kind of set up, right? It's like a little quote, okay? So that's left and right indents. Basically, it's how you squeeze things into the middle from the sides to make it look a little bit different than the rest of the text. Okay, you can also do that through the paragraph dialog box launcher. Let's go ahead and click on the 3rd paragraph. Everybody click somewhere in this 3rd paragraph right here that starts talking about the new tours and African safaris and stuff. Okay? Now, go to the paragraph area. You can either do it from the Home tab or this Layout tab. Remember to use the corner with the arrow coming out. That is the dialog box launcher. And remember what happens when you click on this dialog box launcher right here? It basically goes and gives that pop-up window. And what do I say about the pop-up window? It has the deep knowledge. Okay, it's got all of the tools. It's got all the stuff. Okay, now paragraph group dialog launcher is up. Click on the Indents and Spacing tab. We are already here. No need to click. Under indentation, once again, indentation, left indentation. We crank that up to 0.4 using the arrows, or we could just type it in. You can just like highlight it and type it in if you wanted to. That's the quicker way. The right indent we can set to 0.6. Okay. Now, everybody take a look right here underneath left and right. You see this word here? Mirror indents. Okay? If you're reading a book, okay? If you've got a book, the stuff on the side over here and on the side over here. Everybody look. The stuff on the side over here and over here, these two edges are very similar, right? We go pretty close to the edge on these side ones, don't we? But not in the middle. If you look in the middle and you really pull it back and you really think about it because it goes way deep down in there, this is about that much space, okay? This is about that much space. If you go to the side here and look at how much side space there is, it's a lot less, okay? Now, if your Word document is being used to create a book, you actually need Word to understand that a book on page on the left side needs to have thin margins on this side and thick margins on that side. And on the next page, the thick margins are on the left side and the thin margins are on the right side. So the opposite, a mirror image, right? So if you are using Word to write a book, then you need to click on this mirror indents so that it works like a book does, okay? And that way there's no confusion. Like maybe you have a thing like you've got like a ½ inch on this side and you've got like a ½ inch on that side, and it's like, okay, I have this picture. Well, what happens if you put the picture on the thin side, but that's actually the middle, and that picture goes into the curve, and then you can't even see half the picture, right? That's a problem that some people, book publishers and things like that have. So they created this mirror image thing so that you can have stuff like that, okay? And you can make sure that you do your books correctly, okay? All right. Now, that was that little part right there with the little italics information. That's what that was talking about. Okay, now there's a special right here, and this special has a drop-down list. Let's talk about the first line indent. Okay, what's a first line indent? You guys read paragraphs in books, right? You ever seen the paragraphs where the first line is in a little bit, but the rest of the paragraph is cool? All right, in your MLA documents, when you're writing book reports for your teachers and they do that MLA style, doesn't the first line of a paragraph have to be kicked in? Okay, this is one way of making that happen. A first line indent means that only the first line is going to be set up this way. And you want to kick it in, let's see, the book says to kick it in by 0.5. Yep, that's the default, 0.5. But we want it to be a little bit bigger. So let's use these arrows to kick it up to 0.8. So instead of a normal ½ inch like normal, it will be a little bit bigger as of a first line and a first line only indent. All right, say okay. Ha ha ha. No, just go ahead and do the thing with the thing. All right. Okay. All right, so now these are all set up in the same way, but it's because of the way we put together the operation. All right. Scrolling on down to page 120. Okay. Setting up the dialog boxes like that. If you click OK, then everything comes up like that. Moving on to the next box. Click anywhere in the second paragraph. That's this paragraph right here. Click into this paragraph right here. Is there a question? You guys got something? With the special, you clicked it up 3 times to where it says 0.8. First line indent by 0.8. What you got?
got it on special? You got it on first line and point A? Yes. How about you got it? Yeah. Okay. All right. Wait, so you want to highlight it or just click?
You can just click anywhere in that paragraph that's highlighted. Just click anywhere on that. Okay? When you're doing indents and paragraphs and stuff like that, as long as you're clicked anywhere into the paragraph, it basically knows you're talking about that paragraph. So it's like, yeah, okay, what do you want to do with this paragraph? You don't actually have to highlight it. Now, if you want to do two paragraphs at the same time, or like the whole thing, yeah, highlight everything that you need to be that way. But if you're just doing it to one paragraph, just click somewhere in the paragraph. It's cool. All right. Now, so this was a first line indent right here. We're going to do the opposite right here with a hanging indent. Okay? Once again, go to the dialog box launcher after you've highlighted this area. Go back to your little dialog box launcher. Once again, you can use the special. Okay? The left increment, we're going to set to 0.4. So go down on the indentation to 0.4. Okay? Now the special, we're going to click on the special, get the drop-down menu, and say hanging. Hanging is the opposite of first indent. Hanging actually means that the first line is unchanged, but all the other lines in the paragraph have an indentation. Okay? So it kind of hangs out over the other ones. Okay? Go ahead and set that hanging to 0.8. So do the by and click it up to 0.8. Now, say OK to those settings. Oh, you didn't do it this time, Jonathan. Click on OK. Let's give you the opportunity to make a joke, man. Ah, that's all right. That's all right. Okay, now, does everybody see how they're different? This paragraph right here has a hanging indent because the first line hangs over the rest of the paragraph. This one has a first line indent because the first line is indented and the rest, it's the only one that's affected. This could be like 50 lines long and all of these following lines would be unaffected. They would be at the normal indentation, but this one has a first line indent. Now, I want everybody to take a look at this real quick. I'm going to mess with this. Okay, I'm going to mess with this, and I want to show you how it's done. Shall we say the fast way? Okay. So with this paragraph right here, I'm going to highlight this paragraph, and I want you to take a look. Everybody see on the ruler, there is a triangle here on the top of the ruler. There is a triangle on the bottom half of the ruler, and that triangle is stuck to a little square. Does everybody see it? All right, cool. Now, these do the same thing as the indents. Watch what happens. I take this bottom square, and the indent moves. Now, if you use the square, all of the indents, both the top and the bottom, move at the same time. Okay? If you use just the triangle, the whole paragraph, except for the first line, moves. Okay? The whole paragraph, except for the first line, moves when you use the bottom triangle. Now, it's kind of tricky sometimes to click on the triangle instead of the square. You got to be careful. Sometimes you catch the square and everything moves. But if you just want to have like a hanging indent, you just grab that bottom triangle and you move it like a ½ inch behind the top one, the top triangle. So if you want an indent paragraph, you use the top triangle. That moves just the first line. If you want a hanging paragraph, you use the bottom triangle. That moves everything but the first line. Okay? And that's how I usually do it because I don't like getting into all that paragraph, bloody blah, whatever, dialog box launcher stuff. I just like to go to the ruler and put it where I need it to. Also, if you are sharp-eyed, you will notice that there is a bottom triangle on the other side. The right indent also has a triangle. You may move the right indent triangle also manually here on the ruler. Okay? That is also another way to move your margins. Okay, or your indentations. Okay, now go back to the Home tab. We're a little short on time. All right. So let's call it a day right now, because I don't want to get into doing tabs until we get like more time, because tabs are a little bit more difficult and a little bit harder for some people to understand. I've noticed that over the years. I want a little bit more time to explain tabs. So that is going to be it for today. Yes, you can save it. Honestly, it really doesn't matter that much, but you can save it. We'll get back into this a little bit more tomorrow. Technically, you don't have to, because we're going to create a brand new document with W05 try B tomorrow. So it's not really necessary, but you can if you want to. You can always save a try if you want to, but it's not going to be necessarily required unless we stop in the middle of the exercise. All right, so good times. Everybody online, make sure you put your name into the chat so that I make sure that I've got you down for being here today. We're going to go ahead and stop presenting now, so everybody go ahead and leave the chat. No. Okay, I was going to say, be careful. All right, see you later, everybody. Take it easy. Bye-bye.